Good evening, everyone. I'm David Marin with the League of Women Voters. Thank you for attending this forum tonight, hosted by the Midtown Ventura Community Council, College Area Community Council, and the League of Women Voters. I'll ask any of you who just came in, if you have a cell phone, please put it on silent. And before we begin, I'd like to first introduce Karen Flock, President of the Midtown Ventura Community Council, to give a short welcome.
Good evening again. My name is Karen Flock. I'm the chair of the Midtown Ventura Community Council, and we're just thrilled to be here in person with a candidate forum. And actually, this is particularly exciting because we've had a city council candidate forum, but this is our first forum for school board. So welcome, everyone, and I'm passing off to Barbara Brown with the College Area Community Council.
So loud, I'm not good with microphones, so I'll tone my voice down a little bit. I'm Barbara Brown with the College Area Community Council. I want to welcome everyone here tonight. The College Area Community Council covers the part of Ventura that surrounds the college. And so if you live between Hill Road on the east side of Ventura, Dunning and Agnes on the west side, Skyline at the north side, or the 126 freeway, this is a place where you can learn all about what's going on in the city. So I'm going to turn this over to Kathy Morgan, who is with the well-respected League of Women Voters.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. The candidate forums are an opportunity for voters to hear from the various candidates and get the information they need to make an informed choice when they vote. We are glad that you are here today to hear from our candidates. We are pleased to be partnering with Midtown Ventura and College Area Community Councils in collaboration and presenting this forum. At this time, I would like to turn it over to our moderator, David Marin. Thank you.
Good evening. We'll begin with opening statements. It'll be 1 minute. Candidates, you have our timer right there. I want to again acknowledge our gratitude to CAPS Media to be here filming and being able to re-air this on the Ventura channel, capsmedia.org, to learn more. So with that, we'll begin with our first candidate, James Marcus.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I see some beautiful faces. I'm James Marcus, and I'm running for school board. As a local business owner and IT pro, I am fired up about the school district and taking it to a new level and making improvements for the whole community. First up, communication. One seamless platform where teachers, students, and parents can all stay connected. One platform, plus a monthly newsletter that goes out to the entire community, gets everyone involved, gets everyone knowing about all the events at the school. And with my IT skills, this is possible. I am absolutely ensuring that this will be smooth and effective. Next, let's talk about your money and the money you invest in the school system each year. I'm all about keeping things smart. No new taxes, no more bonds, no parcel tax. Let's do our best and work with state politicians. I will work with the state politicians, get things done, and actually get the wages we need. And
Thank you, James. Gonna have to stop you there. David, let's hear from you. 1 minute.
When elected, I'm determined that all children and parents in the district are respected and given the dignity they deserve. I plan to open up the school grounds to the community at night so that children and families have spaces to play because of the lack of park space. All the schools need public art and gardens to give the youth spaces of respite when they are outside the classrooms. The mural should depict the long history of the city of Ventura as stewarded by the Chumash and Latino A cultures for centuries. In addition, I'll put swimming pools so each child can learn to swim. The pools can act as a cooling center during summer months and be open to the community. We must stop neglecting our youth. For example, in 2022, the voters passed a bond measure to repair our broken schools. Has this been done? Elect me and the schools will be repaired. I will make sure that the toxic soils and other health hazards are cleaned up from the schools and the pathways that children walk to schools. If this requires a partnership with the city, I will do the work to make it happen.
Thank you, David.
I'm sorry, but I can't split. I got something urgent come up, so.
Oh, okay. That's fine, but that is appropriate that if a candidate cannot appear, we would read their candidate statement. He read it, and he'll be leaving. We'll hear more from these two candidates. Sabrina, it's your turn for your opening statement. 1 minute.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about our public schools and the amazing work that's happening in there for our community's children. I first started volunteering in our schools 20 years ago when my eldest daughter was in the first grade at Lincoln, just down the street. And since then, I've been deeply involved in many aspects of what we do. I've given thousands of hours to our schools because I believe there's nothing more important to our community than the safety and the futures of our children. Our schools are the heart and soul of our community, and I'm proud of our dedicated staff and all that they do because they care deeply about your children and your grandchildren's future. Schools are not the place where kids just come to learn. They're also the place where many of our kids get their meals. They're the place where they have someone safe to talk to about things that come up in their lives. And most importantly, they're the place where they can think big thoughts and dream big dreams. It's been an incredible honor to serve this community for the last 8 years. We've made great progress, but there's still work to do. And I hope I can count on you to help me move our district forward in the future.
Thank you, Sabrina. We're going to start off with you, Sabrina, on the first question, and let's get right to it as far as surplus property. The Ventura Unified School District has a fair amount of surplus property, including Washington School. What are your views on the best use of these properties?
So, thank you. The district has recently surplused 5 properties, Washington and Avenue School, the Education Services Center on the Stanley Avenue, and 2 pieces of farmland. Our mandate is to educate children, so whatever we do with those projects really needs to go to making sure that we use the proceeds to improve the lives of our kids. That's what the school district does. We are not in the redevelopment business. That is something that the community can definitely have a say in with city council, but the school district's mandate is to educate our children, and that's what we use our resources to do.
And James, your views on surplus property like Washington School?
Absolutely. I think it's great to have these properties. I think there's a lot that can come out of this affordable housing. I think it depends on where the property is. I think for example, the Washington School, I think it's in the middle of a beautiful community that I don't think everybody agrees that that should be turned into anything else but a school or possibly a park. I think there's some confusion there. I think that housing is important, so if we can use these areas for housing, that's always good, and I'm always on board for that. And yeah.
Okay, you still have more time, but okay. Let's go, we'll start with you on the next one, James, and it's about the students and some of the after effects of COVID. So student achievement in many cases declined due to COVID. Mental health has been compromised for many students. Share with us what steps you would take to remedy these challenges.
Absolutely. I think a big thing with children nowadays is there's not enough communication between the schools, the parents, and the children. I think if people actually knew a little more going on, we can actually have more events planned. I think there could be more opportunity for getting more people together. I think like a big thing for children is being connected to other children. And I think if my idea is to actually get more events rolling, open up these school spaces, and making a change for these kids, doing what's best for them, getting them off those phones. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Sabrina, same question about remedying the loss of student achievement and the increase of mental health issues.
So one of the things that we saw when we invited our kids back into our schools after COVID is that there was a lot of lingering effects, both academic and mental health, for our kids. We set about building in a lot of supports for those kids to make sure that they could gain back the ground that was lost during those years. We have a lot of support in terms of teachers that do pull-out programs for kids who have fallen behind academically to help them catch up. We've hired a ton of new counselors and open wellness centers at all of our secondary schools, which give kids a place to go when they're having anxiety or depression, or when they want to talk about something that's happening in their home life. It gives them a safe space to go and get some services and then go back to their class and start again. We've also opened expanded learning programs at all of our schools, which give kids 3 to 4 extra hours of support at the end of the school day that's free to families. And that's been critical in helping kids gain back the ground that was lost.
Thank you. We'll stay with you and sort of on the same topic. So special education and struggling students. Are there additional strategies you have to help special education and other struggling students?
Yeah, the board recently commissioned an assessment by FCMAT to look at how we were serving our special ed students, our students with disabilities, and it really shed some light on some important places for us to grow. And as a priority for the board, we have set the direction saying this is something that we want to do better. We want to make sure that we are serving our students with disabilities in ways that are more impactful, that we are having better dialogue with their families. And I'll just give you some examples. We implemented a parent advisory committee where we engage with families directly and help them shine a light on the areas where we're falling short. We've dramatically increased our co-teaching models at all of our secondary schools to make sure that our kids are getting plenty of time with their neurotypical peers. There is a lot of work to do in special education. It is not a one-size-fits-all category, but the district is committed to doing it and to bringing parents along as partners, because parents are the first teachers our kids have, and without them, we can't do the work that needs to be done.
Thank you. James, your views on serving special education students and those who are struggling?
Absolutely. I agree with a lot of that. The fact that it's not just an easy solution, but my mother has actually been a special ed educator for the last 25 years, not in this school district, but she's friends with plenty of people out here that I've talked to them, and they've told me it's a struggle, and there needs to be more educators in each classroom. There needs to be more help, because there's a lot of kids that need help. And now that the spectrum's getting bigger and bigger nowadays, there should be more funding for more educators, and we can't just keep filling these classrooms with just kids and expecting these people to get through this. So I'm all about funding for more educators and, of course, raising their wages, especially for those educators.
Thank you. James, we'll stay with you. Let's talk about working with the City Council. Now, you may say, well, you manage schools and the City Council does the rest, but there are ways the City Council and the school board could work together. One example is joint use agreements, because the Unified School District has a great number of campuses that after hours could be used for the community to play baseball, hang out in the fields. So tell us about your view, James, on joint use agreements and working with the City Council.
Absolutely. I think right now there is a disconnect from the City Council and the school board, and I think open fields, open yards for after hours, I think that is something that is absolutely doable, and that should be a priority on our list. It goes back to helping out those kids who's been struggling since COVID. I think the City Council, and I feel like when I hear about this, I hear this constantly from people, that there is a disconnect from City Council and school board, and I'd really like to help make that connection.
Thank you. Same question to you, Sabrina, about working with City Council, and do you support joint use agreements for the use of campuses?
So absolutely. The community expects us to work together, and we all serve the same constituents. I will just say I am endorsed by every single sitting city council member in the city of Ventura currently, because I work well with them, because I have good dialogue with them, because I am collaborative. I have been speaking about joint use agreements for our properties for the last 3 years and pushing for us to be able to open up our pickleball courts for people to use after hours, for people to be able to use our swimming pools and our tennis courts and our fields for AYSO. There are details that have to be worked out, but staff absolutely can get to a place where the community can use those, and it has been a personal push of mine for several years, and I believe it's possible. I also think that the community needs to understand that we each have different roles to play, and the school district's job is to educate children, and the city council's job is to provide parks. And so we have to work together and encourage them to do the part of that they are responsible for.
Thank you. We'll stay with you, Sabrina. Let's talk about budgeting and finances. Are you in support of extending the parcel tax, and what are your budget priorities?
Yes, I am in support of supporting the parcel tax, because those dollars go specifically to values that the community has. They go to arts and music education, and they go to mental health supports. Those are things that we know this community supports. But more importantly, we have a $269 million annual budget for the school district, and there is room in that budget to do the things that we value and believe in, but there's not room in there to do every single thing. So we have to choose priorities. This board has prioritized raising salaries for our staff because we know that's important. We want to have great people working for us because at the end of the day, we are a people organization, and the quality of the staff member in the classroom is the biggest determinant of how that student is going to receive their education. There are things that we have to give up in order to do that, and that's where you want somebody who understands the choices that we're making in a budget of that size.
Thank you. James, share with us your view about budget priorities and also your position on the ballot measure.
You know what? I do not know enough about the parcel tax, but I know that I am not in favor of any more taxes, any more bonds. I feel like, you know, after the last Measure E bond, now every homeowner has to pay an extra $500 a year. That means the rent for all the tenants go up. I feel like we're just going in circles with this, keep adding these taxes. I want to go up to the state. I want to take some state politicians and not go through the city, not make people pay more taxes. Already we're having a housing shortage. People can't afford to buy things. Let's take this up to the state. You know, it's about time we make Ventura like the benchmark of fair compensation for our teachers, and as well of just make a difference. This town deserves it. This town deserves it. It's a beautiful city, so many beautiful people. Let's make the city that turns things around. No more taxes. Let's go to the state.
And I'm sure the sound guys really don't like it when you tap on the table, so no problem. Okay, well, let's talk about one of the bigger, and this is more of a social issue. I'll just take a moment to, we have declining birth rate in Ventura County. The number of young people that are having children is lower. The number of children that they have is less. They're leaving the area. So we have a declining birth rate. And in most of our communities around Ventura County, that translates into declining enrollment. Ventura Unified is a very big example of the decline in enrollment at all of the grades. So James, I know you can't turn around the birth rate overnight, but what can you do to deal with this significant issue of declining enrollment? This may require layoffs for teachers. It may require school closures at some point. Share with us your views about dealing with declining enrollment.
I think a big reason why we have declining enrollment is because we haven't had good communication between the community, the parents, students, and the teachers. I feel like it's kind of made people feel off-putting, and I think that low enrollment could be fixed if there was more engagement with the community, with the parents. I feel like most parents don't know what's going on, and low enrollment is something that will continue. But what I plan to do is open up that communication, get people's thoughts on what we can do to make the school system better. And I think it's possible, and I want to be the guy to make that change for everybody. Yeah.
Thank you. Sabrina, same question. How will you deal with declining enrollment and possible closures?
So first, I just want to address something. The school district tracks very closely when a student leaves our school, why they left and where they go. So we know that students are not leaving our school districts in higher numbers to go to private schools or to go to homeschooling. We just are not receiving as many students because, frankly, this is a very expensive place to live and families can't afford to move here. So I just feel like we should address that declining enrollment is something that is happening throughout Ventura County. We're the second highest county in the state in terms of our reduction in student population, and that is not a Ventura Unified thing, that is a Ventura County thing. But secondly, one of the ways you address declining enrollment is to make sure that our schools are compelling places for kids to come. And we have offered just an incredible array of choices, whether that's dual immersion programs for kids to learn a second language, science magnets, art magnets. We have great programs, and at the end of the day, that's what brings kids to school.
Thank you. I'm going to stay with this, though, because I want to get to the other half of this is what type of cuts would you support? It could be staffing, it could be school closures, it could be mergers. We saw this in Ojai where schools were merged. So if it does get worse, I know you're both very optimistic, but if it gets worse, where are some of the areas that you would cut first?
So one of the things that I think is important is we do track this, and we are looking at about a 3-year continual decline before things start to stabilize. So we know that things are not going to continue in this downward trend forever. But aside from that, I think we have to look at potentially reductions in staff because, staffing is based on the kids that show up at school. But there's not a huge saving from closing schools unless things get very dramatic, because you end up having to transport kids a much further distance, and that costs money. And so sometimes people think, well, close schools, you'll save a ton of money, and then you can, but the other challenge is you lose that community feel that our local schools provide. Our schools are the heart of each neighborhood, and having neighborhood schools is one of the things I love about this town. My kids go to their neighborhood school, and they make friends who live near them, and that's really important. And I think we should prevent doing that at all costs. We scale our staffing to the kids that are there, and that's the way we make cuts.
Thank you. James, where would you start making cuts?
I'm pretty much on the same page with that. I think staffing would be the cuts that I would do, but I do not want to close down any schools. This community, the schools make this community shine, these buildings. I'm all about, but I don't see that happening. I feel like we have some potential here. We have some potential to bring this up to a higher level.
Thank you. James, stay with you. Let's turn to one of the cultural issues that's certainly a hot issue in other states around the country, and that is this issue of banning books in school libraries. James, what's your philosophy about what books are appropriate, how the parents should be involved or students involved in selecting books?
Right. There are books. This is a tough subject. I think there are books that nowadays not quite as acceptable. I'm not too sure which ones are good, which ones are not. From what my daughter brings home, they all seem like they're on the right page. I think, again, communication with the community. We are a progressive community out here, and I think it should be more listened to actually get what the consensus is from everybody instead of just banning books just from a school board decision.
Thank you. Same question to you, Sabrina, your philosophy and position on banning books or removing certain books?
I'm absolutely not in favor of banning books. We have an amazing team of educators who look at books that come into our schools, and they evaluate them for content and grade level appropriateness. And I trust them. They're professionals. We allow them to do their jobs. And I think we've actually, as a district, gone a lot in the other direction. We've really diversified our reading lists to make sure that we are representing who the community is in the books that are in our libraries and in our classrooms. We want kids reading books that represent their story, not just other people's stories. And that's really important, right? It's not for me to judge what books children choose. It's for them, in consultation with their teacher and their parents, to decide what it is they want to learn about. And I absolutely support having great diversity in our library because that's what kids should have. Learning should be about things other than what you grew up with, right? You should learn from other people's experiences, and it's very important.
Thank you. Stay with you. This is a very specific question, but we have time. So at school board meetings, the protocols have public comments on agenda items after the board deliberation. And the person who wrote this feels that disenfranchises the public to have to wait till after the board deliberation. Do you agree with this policy?
So that's not entirely accurate. The board did recently change the way our public comment is given. We felt that sometimes people came and provided public comment before the staff presentation, and then often they didn't know what they were going to be seeing next. So now it is staff presentation, board questions, public comment, board deliberation, board vote. That gives us the opportunity to hear from the public, listen to their public comments, ask follow-up questions if they generate something for us, and then take a vote. So I feel like the change has really allowed for the public to weigh in more appropriate ways on objects, but also gives the people who come to us for public comment an opportunity to hear the full conversation the board is having while we're having it. And it really means that they are learning more, we are learning more, and it is a better dialogue.
James, I know you're not on the board, but tell me if you support that policy or how would you change it?
I haven't actually seen that happen, but I like the idea of having a public comment, maybe talking about it on the spot, and keeping it open, keeping the communication open between the board members and the public.
Okay, this will probably be our last question. I'm starting with you, James. We've gotten into a lot of policy, but let's just take a moment to learn about your priorities. If you're elected, what are some of those priorities, and how do you plan to accomplish them?
Absolutely. Again, like communication. The communication is important. I feel like that is my number one priority, is communication between the parents, the teachers, and the students. There needs the whole confusion between using Canvas, Q, and Parent Square, that needs to be condensed to one platform. By the end of the day, when I get home, I don't want to look at 3 different apps to try to figure out what my daughter's done, what the teacher wants me to do. I feel like that should be easier. I work at a cafe. I actually own a cafe down the street. Number one thing I hear from people, especially parents, is I don't know what's going on in my school. I don't know what's happening. I have to have this app. I feel it needs to be more with the people. And absolutely, I think, again, going back to our open school spaces, I think after hours, opening up a playground, fields, tracks, I feel like people should be able to go down there and go for a run and open up those spaces safely. I think we can do that. And last, your money, let's stop using tax money. Let's go to the state. This is possible.
Thank you. Sabrina, if you're reelected, what is your priorities? How will you accomplish them?
So first and foremost is student literacy. All learning begins with being able to read. And we know that literacy rates are the greatest predictor of student success all through their academic career. So that's a huge board priority and something that we've spent a lot of time, effort, and money trying to address, and we're seeing progress. Secondly, student mental health. The pandemic was hard on kids. Social media has been hard on kids, and it's really important that we help kids develop better coping skills. We saw a huge spike in vaping because kids were anxious, right? We need to be able to help kids work through the challenges of life and have healthy strategies for addressing those things. And then third, culture and climate. I mean, I will agree with James. I think communication is important, but really the most important part is a sense of belonging. We want every child, every family, every staff member to know that they're valued, that their place in our schools matters, that they're not there by accident, but they're there because we purposely want them there.
Thank you. We'll begin closing statements now. Sabrina, you have 1 minute. Give you a moment to get set up. While you're doing
Snuck
that,
up on me.
I will go ahead and thank our partners at CAPS Media. Thank you to the Cabrillo Middle School team and Ventura Unified. Also a reminder, this will be posted on the league's website within a couple of days. Just visit lwvventuracounty.org. You can also see a list of all of our other forums if you want to follow us around the county. I don't think there'll be many people lined up for that, but you can certainly watch any of the videos that we do elsewhere. Also want to take a moment to thank our volunteers, Cheryl, Jane, Wayne, Pat and Roger, Doris, Kathy, Karen, Dan Long, Cherie, Eric, Arlene, Christine, Pamela, Russell, Kathy, and Rob. How about a big round for our volunteers? Did I give you enough time? And at this time, we'll hear a closing statement from our first candidate, Sabrina Rodriguez.
So thank you, and I want to thank the League and the councils for hosting tonight's conversation. Hopefully after listening to us, you understand that there is a lot at stake in this election. Our public schools are incredibly important to the future of our children and our community. Yes, we are a large public agency with a large budget and lots of resources, but our mandate is to lift up our community's children, to help them build bright futures, and to partner with families and the community to ensure that no child is left out of the great American promise. Leadership matters. We see that a lot lately. And it has been my honor to serve this community for the last 8 years, and I ask for your support moving forward so that we can continue the work we've been doing and make our schools shining examples for all the community to see.
Thank you. Our next candidate is James Marcus.
This is more than just about improving our schools. This is about shaping our future. Together, we can create a community where every student excels, every staff member is appreciated, and every space is a place to connect. I feel like we're in a special moment here. We can make something amazing happen. And if you vote for me, we'll make Ventura's schools shine. I'm very excited to where we are at this present moment at the school system. I think its school board's done some wonderful things, but I am so excited where Ventura is going to go. I feel like just give it some time. People from neighboring cities all across the state will look at Ventura and be like, I want to be like them. We will be the model of excellence and unity, and we're going to get there. Vote for me. We'll make Ventura's schools shine.
Thank you. How about a round of applause for both candidates? And another reminder that this will be broadcast on CAPS Media, Channel 6, and it's also will be streaming on capsmedia.org. You are dismissed if it's a school, right? So thank you all very much. You are dismissed.